What is up, ladies and gentlemen? This is Kensei Sensei, and in today's lesson, I'm going to be talking about Japanese motion verbs. In particular, I'm going to be talking about te iru, te kuru, and te iku. Let's get right in. So the learning objectives of this lesson is to understand the application of te iru in different contexts, and to grasp the concept of motion verbs and their meanings. So before I explain about Japanese motion verbs, I'm going to be explaining te iru. The te iru form is basically used to describe a progressive action or an ongoing state. Progressive action basically means the action is still ongoing. It is still happening. And an ongoing state is basically a condition that has happened because of a past action. You can basically think of it as the present progressive tense in Japanese. So let's look at some example sentences. 走っている. 走っている basically means I am running. 走る in Japanese means to run. So if we add the te iru form, it becomes present progressive. I am running. In English, we have ings. So for example, I am eating or I am sitting. This just means the action is still ongoing. Let's look at another example. ちゃんと食べているの? ちゃんと食べているの? This basically means, are you eating properly? ちゃんと means properly, and 食べている means eating. At the end of the sentence, we add no because it is a question. Are you eating properly? ちゃんと食べているの? Let's look at the te iru form when we use it as an ongoing state. So for example, 彼女は悲しんでいる. 彼女は悲しんでいる. The state that she is in, or the condition in this case, is 悲しむ, which is to be sad. Basically, she is sad because of a past action. Someone made her sad, and she is still sad in the present tense. It is an ongoing state. So now that you know that we can use te iru as the present progressive tense in Japanese, we'll move on to motion verbs. The motion verbs te iru, te iku, and te kuru may remind you of these three verbs. Iru basically means to be. So when you learn Japanese motion verbs, I want you to use gestures. Te iru basically means the action is currently happening right there. And te iku basically means the action has happened and the subject goes somewhere. And te kuru, on the other hand, is when an action happens and it comes to you. The subject comes to you. So let's look at these in detail. Te iru implies that the subject has arrived and is now at the destination. So let's look at an example. 映画館に来ている. 映画館に来ている basically means I am here right now at the theaters. So 来ている. If we break this down, 来る means to come. 来ている basically means I have come to the destination and I am currently here. Now let's look at te iku. Like I said before, te iku comes from the verb iku, which means to go. So there are two uses to the te iku form. The first one is when the subject does something and then goes somewhere. So let's look at an example. 持っていく means to grab and go. 持つ means to grab or to hold. So if I say 持っていく, that means I grab something and I go somewhere. As you can see, the action happens, the subject does an action and then goes somewhere. ていく. And the second use of ていく is when an event happens and it gradually changes. So for example, if I say 雨が止んでいく, 雨が止んでいく, this means the rain is gradually stopping. In this case, the event is 雨が止む, which means the rain stops. But by adding the ていく form, 雨が止んでいく, it basically implies that it is gradually stopping. And finally, let's look at てくる. Again, てくる comes from 来る, which is to come. So it basically means an action happens and then the subject comes back. So for example, if I say サンドイッチを買ってくる, this means I go and buy a sandwich and I come back. サンドイッチを買ってくる. So I go to the store, I do the action 買う, which is to buy, and then 買ってくる, and I come back to my original location. There's also a second use for the てくる form, which is basically, again, it has to do with events. We can use the てくる form when an event has come to you. If we take a look at an example, 雨が降ってきた. 雨が降ってきた. 雨が降る basically means it rains, But if I say 雨が降ってきた, that means it has started to rain. It is the beginning of the event, and it implies that the event has just started. So again, in other words, the event has come to me because the event has just started. So now that I've explained ている, て行く, and て来る, let me summarize the whole lesson. ている basically describes progressive actions and resultant states. て行く, on the other hand, indicates an action and that the subject goes somewhere, or a departure. It can also mean a gradual future change. て来る, on the other hand, indicates an action and a return. Or it can also imply that something is beginning, an event is happening. These forms are very common in the Japanese language, so it is essential for you guys to know how to use ている, て行く, and て来る. But that's the end of the video. If you learned something new or you found this very useful, make sure to like and subscribe. And if you want to participate in my language exchange server between Japanese native speakers and English speakers, make sure to check out the link below. But until next time, see you later.